Welcome, everyone, to the Xojo Wars Community Battle Kickoff. I'm Paul Lefevre, the Xojo Developer Evangelist. And for our webinar this time, we are going to be taking the Xojo Wars Community Battle to the community. So I got a few slides to go through. We'll take a look at Xojo Wars itself, a couple of the sample ships, and then I can take some questions. And that's pretty much it. You can get cracking on Xojo Wars, so it shouldn't be a super long webinar today. So what is Xojo Wars? It's a space battle. You're going to create code for your own spaceship. And this ship of yours is going to battle other people's spaceships for which they've also created code. And this was the XDC 2015 contest. So a lot of people seem to have fun playing it. It was the last session of the day of the XDC 2015 conference, and everyone is in the big room watching the battle, which ran for about 20 minutes or so while the ships battled each other. And you can see here a little static screenshot of what it looks like. I get some retro spaceships firing missiles. There's some black holes that appear at random locations in the screen that will, if you fly into them, transport you to other areas of the screen. 4 ships are going to battle each other at one time, so it's always battles of 4, and essentially you get a point for each time you hit someone, and you lose a point for each time you get hit, and that's how your score is counted. And so let's go through a few other points. So where can you get Xojo Wars? Where is it? Well, it's on GitHub. It's open source. You can grab it from github.com/Xojo/Xojo Wars. And you can download it as a zip, or you can clone the Git repository. So if you're not familiar with Git at all, just download the zip. There's a little button on the right-hand side that says download zip, and you can download the zip file and then just unzip that and open it up in Xojo and run it. Or you can clone it if you want, although I don't particularly think I'll be accepting any pull requests for Xojo Wars. There is a README that's on the home page. And also included in the zip and the download. So you'll definitely want to read that. We'll go over some of that stuff here, but that has the particular API that you code against. It does require Xojo 2015 release 2 or newer, so 2.1 or 2.2 will all work. And how can you play? Well, anyone can play. And to play, you implement the ship interface. And we'll look at this when we dive in. It's really easy. There's an interface, and if you're not familiar with that concept, that's an object-oriented thing that essentially defines a bunch of methods that you have to implement. So you're gonna implement a ship interface. You're gonna create a class. It's gonna implement a ship interface, and you're gonna write code in a variety of methods. You're to only use the documented API. There's no the specifics are outlined in the README, but essentially, don't cheat. Don't try to use introspection or any other things to hack around and try and figure out stuff that would give you an unfair advantage. Just code your ship up using the API that's provided. You can provide your own supporting classes. So you'll have a class that implements ship interface, but if you need to have other classes to do other things, track stuff, or do whatever, you're allowed to do that. And then after you've implemented your ship interface, you just add an instance of it to the create player method on the main window, and that adds it to one of the ships in the battle so that it can fight in the battle. So essentially what I do when I get everyone's ship is I add them all to the project so that all the ships are available and they can fight each other. When you're creating your stuff, you're going to want to test against the sample ships that are included with Xojo Wars. And there are 4 sample ships that are included, none of which are terribly sophisticated. So you should be able to defeat them all. There is the ship called Edge Driver, whose only purpose in life is from wherever it starts on the screen, it drives to the top of the screen and then just follows the edge of the screen in a giant circle, shooting occasionally. Random Driver just randomly flies around the screen, essentially, and randomly shoots. Spinner just parks itself somewhere on the screen and spins in one direction for a while shooting, and then spins in the other direction for a while shooting. And the follower is probably the smartest of the ships that's included here. So you might want to look at that one for some examples of logic. And this one actually uses some of the provided information for where other enemy ships are to find the closest one, to target it, follow it around, shoot at it when it gets near it, that sort of thing. So there are 4 ships that you can take a look at for examples. All right, so where do you send your code? Well, this is the kickoff for Xojo Wars, so you have plenty of time to work on your code, but you don't want to wait to the last minute, as most developers perhaps tend to do. But I need your code by 8 a.m. July 17th. Sorry, I can't even say it right when I'm talking. July 7th. That's the week before we're going to do the live battle kickoff. So 8 a.m. July 7th, I want your code emailed to me. And you're going to send it to paul@xojo.com. It's helpful if you include the subject, Xojo Wars 2015 Community Contest. That will allow me to find and filter these and make sure I don't miss anybody. And don't be late. I don't like lateness, so if you come in late, unless you get a great story about how you saved a school bus full of cats from flipping over a mountainside cliff, I may say, sorry, you're late. Any project format is acceptable for your submission. You can, send me a binary project. You can just export just out your class. If you just have a single class, you can just put all your stuff in, export all the individual things in a folder. Whatever format Xojo can save this stuff in, I can open it up. So it doesn't matter. So just, package it up, zip it, email it to me. That'll work. And because there'll be a week lead time, if I run into any issues, I can get back to you, which will always be good. And as I mentioned, the battle itself is going to be live July 14th at the webinar time of 1 p.m. Eastern. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the ships that I've received from people. They're going to be included in the Xojo War apps, and we're going to essentially run it and watch the battle. I'll probably have it set to run about 15 or 20 minutes. I can tweak the settings to determine the number of games that are played and the length of each game and that sort of thing, depending on how many participants there are. So we'll go for that, and we'll end up seeing who the champion is. So how can you win? Well, the goal is to make it to the championship battle. So there's going to be a bunch of battles beforehand that everyone will participate in, and you'll each fight some number of battles. And you want to finish with a top 4 score. So this means, and this is the top 4 scores, not the top 4 players. So if there's a tie or anything in the score realm, there could be 5 or 6 people in the final battle, but I would expect there'll probably only be 4 people in the final battle. But you want to finish with a top 4 score, and that essentially is the score is the number of hits that you inflicted on others minus the number of times you were hit, and that's your score. And the higher the number, the higher your score. There you go. And then once you make it to the championship battle, you have to win the championship battle. So this is much like playoffs in most sports. It's possible that your ship finished in first place by a mile, made it to the championship battle, and you lost the championship battle to someone inferior to you because it was just a one battle. Winner takes all, one battle. And that's the way the ship fires. So be prepared. And I have to mention that the 2015 XTC champion of Xojo Wars was Bruno Frechette, and his ship trounced everyone else, and he took home the prize from XTC, which was an Apple Watch. Now, do you need to be a Xojo expert to play Xojo Wars? Absolutely not. You're not coding up the game or anything like that. You're just going to be coding up your ship. And you only need to code to the specific API. So you can use, Xojo, but you don't have to do any UI work. You're not going to do any graphics programming or anything like that. It's just going to be standard coding. You're going to have some arrays that you might be tracking things with. You're going to get some information passed into the methods that you can use to figure out stuff. But you don't really need to know a lot about Xojo as a whole. So anyone can participate. There is some luck involved as well with the placement of the the wormholes, the black holes, and just other aspects of how the game generally works. So it's not like there's 100% chance that someone's going to win every time. So there is a little bit of luck involved. So keep that in mind. And of course, anyone can join. You don't need a Xojo license. This all works fine with the free version of Xojo. You can write your code in that, and you can test it, and you can submit it to me, and that's perfectly fine. So anyone, the more the merrier. Although only one submission per person. I don't have that actually on a slide here, but I don't want to get each of you sending me 10 different ships. Pick your best one. And what do you get if you win? Well, of course, you get fame, right? And who doesn't want to be famous? And you get glory because, every time you decide to post something in the forum, you can add a little tag at the end that says, Xojo Wars Community Champion. And we're going to send you some Xojo stickers. Everyone loves Xojo stickers. You can put them all over your wall, your backpack, your briefcase, that sort of stuff. And a pen so you can write and take notes, because everyone, when they're coding, has to write and take notes. I do it all the time. We're also going to be including a Raspberry Pi kit, because this summer, when Xojo 2015 Release 3 comes out, it's going to have support for creating Raspberry Pi apps, which we're very excited about and cool, and people are going to want these little Raspberry Pi kits to play around with and make stuff. This was at the XDC, people were asking, what sort of thing are you going to make? What are you going to make? Home automation was a common thing that was talked about, using these things for retro gaming, all kinds of stuff that you can do with a Raspberry Pi, a little mini computer. And also $500 that you can use for anything. So you can buy yourself an Apple Watch if you really want one, or anything else. You can extend your Xojo license if you so desire. Put it towards Xojo Pro, put it towards a new laptop, whatever floats your boat. And the last slide here, I was not actually paying attention, so what do I really need to know? Implement and test your ship. Submit it by July 7th to me, Paul at Xojo.com. Watch the battle live on July 14th. You can register for that webinar at the usual place on our website. And you can win $500, a Raspberry Pi, plus some Xojo swag, and of course, fame and glory. All fun things. So now I'll be taking questions, and I'm going to switch over to Xojo, and we'll take a look at Xojo Wars itself. All right, so here I have the Xojo Wars project open, and you can see that it's pretty encapsulated here. You're not going to really need to worry about much that's here other than the ship interface. So when you want to create your new ship, you're just going to right-click on Ship Interface, and you can pick, let's see, New Implementer down here. And I just have to move some stuff out. Actually, I didn't did I pick the right thing, or does this thing not work like I thought? Oh, I guess it doesn't. All right, so apparently that menu option doesn't do anything. So you create a new class, and now I don't see a new class being created. Do I need to quit Xojo and restart it? Or do I have windows in the way? Hang on, I'm moving some windows out of the way. I did have some permission problems on my folder earlier today that were messing up the keynote. So see if that's also messing up Xojo. Let's restart it. If it thinks it's all read-only, it's not going to let me add stuff. Yeah, it still thinks it's read-only. Let me just copy it somewhere else then. There we go. All right, so sorry about the read-write issues on my webinar account. So you create a new class, my favorite ship, and you just have to choose the interface here. That is called ship interface. And that'll put in the methods that you need to implement. And you should be able to right-click and pick new implementer and do the same thing. It creates the same new class for you with the methods already in there. So that's how that works. And then you just have to write code in each of these methods. You can open up the ship examples folder here to see the code in each of the ships. So you can see something simple like spinner has some code here. It's returning true to say fire anytime it can. The get name method is where you're going to return the name of your ship, and that should be your name, so it's easy to spot. This particular code here says, well, the got hit method was called. That means the ship got hit, so it's going to switch its spinning rotation. Not too sophisticated there. If a new game is started, it's setting its spinning rotation to spin right. And then it's just rotating it periodically, using random numbers. And then it's not doing any teleporting. So as you can see, very simple ship here. Follower is more sophisticated, and you can take a look at that. And it's got code for tracking things, checking if stuff's within range, moving in certain directions, that sort of stuff. And I'll let you dive through that code. But you can get pretty clever with your ships for tracking other things and moving around. You can come up with a strategy for whether you're going to be aggressive and attack, or if you're going to be more defensive and hide around or try to avoid things. All right. And I'm going to run this momentarily. I just got a couple questions and comments here to take a look at. So Justin is noting it'd be really cool to add warp engines, cloaking, and some other stuff. Somebody's got too much Star Trek on his mind. This is Xojo Wars, not Xojo Trek. But yeah, extra features I think we might look into for the next contest next year, including some things like shields and stuff like that. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. But yeah, I think we'll definitely beef it up with some stuff next year. Edwin is noting, is the project locked? Yes, I was having permission issues on my folder that's here on my webinar account. Alwyn is asking if the ship and missile move at the same speed. And no, they do not move at the same speed. The missiles move much more quickly than the ships. That's important to note because you can't really outrun a missile. But missiles do have a limited distance they will travel. So they won't travel across the entire length of the screen. They'll kind of fade away, I think about 3/4 of the length of the screen. So you could evade one that way, or one could be fired at you from a distance that would never reach you. And a couple other things to note is, you know, you can certainly look through the Xojo Wars code itself and figure out, you know, some of these specific things for how fast things are moving or stuff like that. But don't count on them staying exactly the same. It's possible I may tweak things a little bit, like Alwyn is noting here. I may tweak it so each battle something moves at a slightly different speed or something like that. So again, stick to the API for best results. Because if you decide you want to hard code something based on the fact that a missile moves a certain distance or something like that, and I end up, you know, tweaking that a little bit before the battle, that could possibly harm your code more than help it. And let's see here. Lance is asking if you can track missiles or just the ships. All right, I think I missed the mute button on that one. All right, let's see here. I don't remember if you can track both. So let's go to the GitHub page, which has the README. Can't see what I'm typing, so I gotta. So the README down here has the stuff that's passed in that you can track. And you can see here, new game, you're given the position of the wormholes. So you can, and the wormholes move around with each game, but you are told where they are, so you can use those to maybe help. Let's see, you're given the coordinates of the ship, the direction, whether there is a shot at you, and the enemy positions. So no, you do not have the missile direction. Edwin is asking if a wormhole eats missiles, and yes, absolutely it does. And let's just see what this looks like in action here, and you certainly can run it yourself and get a feel for some of this, but might actually be hearing the audio. I think I did a screen sharing with audio, so you may need to mute or lower the volume of the computer. So I should warn you about that. So you can see here, this is the demo battle. The battles are set very short, 10 seconds out, a lot longer than the real thing. I think at XDC, the battles were about a second or so. If you fire into a wormhole, the missile disappears. If you fly into a wormhole, you get transported elsewhere in the screen. Some of these ships aren't being very smart about things. Others are flying right towards stuff. And it's tracking the leaderboard, the scores for each game. Each ship is assigned a number and keeps that number throughout the race or throughout the battles. So if you're assigned ship number 6, you'll always be ship number 6, but ship color will change. And that's really probably about all of it. Gavin has noticed he missed how long the battles are, probably because of the fun little sound effects. The battle length will vary. Well, I shouldn't say vary. It'll be fixed, but I haven't decided on the length yet. It'll depend on how many submissions I get. Ideally, I want to target it to be about 15, 20 minutes for the overall contest. So I'll tweak the battle length so that I can make sure that I get enough different battles in for all the ships to reasonably determine scoring and that sort of stuff. So, and you can tweak that the battle length in your testing and that sort of stuff, to kind of simulate things. And trying to think of any other tips from people. I'm not sharing any of the code from the XDC winners just yet, but after the contest in July, for people that want, I suspect I'll probably just put everyone's algorithms up right on the GitHub site for people to take a look at. Let's see here. Edwin is asking if a wormhole makes you jump to the same wormhole somewhere else on the screen every time. No, the wormholes are not that smart. It actually just makes you jump to a random location on the screen. So they're not transport wormholes like in Star Trek, where you'd go in one wormhole and you'd always come out the other one. That would have been kind of cool, but in the end, I decided that I needed to actually finish this thing and have it ready for XDC rather than adding cool stuff to it. But now I've got, a whole bunch of time until next XDC to add even more stuff to it. And we just may do that. I've gotten lots of suggestions from people already for enhancements to this game, or maybe even other games to try for next year. So we'll see. Certainly, if you have ideas or suggestions, I love to hear them. I'm really looking forward to seeing what everyone can do here. We had, I think it was 10-ish people battling at XDC. A mute button. Yeah, Edwin is noting a mute button or a volume slider might be cool. That is an actual brilliant idea, because in my testing when I was working on this, I thought I was going to go insane from hearing that little trumpet and all the shooting. I ended up just, obviously muting the computer sound. Feel free to tweak that in your version of Xojo Wars if that bothers you. You do have the full source code, of course. Not that I'll be using anyone's modified source code for Xojo Wars. Only my modified version will get used. So I won't really talk about too much about what the next game will look like, because I don't know yet. It's possible it will be an enhanced version of this with some newer, better features, or it might be something entirely different. So like I said, if you have suggestions or feedback, by all means, get them to me. One complaint that I got from people at XDC is they didn't have enough lead time to work on this. A lot of people wanted to do it, but there was only about a week or so before the conference that we gave people for lead time to work on their ships. And a lot of people were very busy the week leading up to the conference. And at the conference, if you've ever been, it's a very busy time, and a lot of people didn't have time to work on it while they were at the conference. So for this one, we're giving people about a month to work on their ships. And hopefully that allows lots of people time. I mean, it's not like it'll take you, hours upon hours to put together a ship, but maybe it will if you really are having fun, and hopefully you are. Edwin is asking if you only need to send the ship classes or the complete project. Whatever's easier for you. You can just send me the classes, or you can send me the whole project. I don't really care. As long as I can get your stuff out, it works for me. And Mike is asking what's the minimum version of Xojo we can use. And it is in the README, but it is the current version. So Xojo 2015 release 2.1 or 2.2 will all work. And the reason for that is this is a desktop app, but it does use some parts of the Xojo framework, the new Xojo framework, that only became available in release 2. And feel free to take a look at the Xojo Wars code. But I have to say, it's not my finest work as far as code standpoint goes. This game was kind of thrown together over a period of time and rather quickly. And there's some things I would probably tweak now, having worked on it a bit differently. If you were at XDC, I did a gaming session, and one of the games I demonstrated was Asteroids, which essentially uses a much better design and framework than Xojo Wars. And if I do something similar to Xojo Wars next year, it will definitely be based on the Asteroids game that I made, which is a lot slicker than this one. But this works, seems pretty fun. I like retro stuff because it keeps the game simple enough that I might actually have the ability to code it. So I really like that. So that's pretty much all I had to say about Xojo Wars. Justin is asking if we're going to have a retro podcast. And yes, I do need to talk to him about that coming up. By all means, get coding. If you have questions, feel free to email me. paul@xojo.com. Happy to answer any questions you have. If they're not answered in the README, I can answer them and then update the README. If you find any bugs or crashes in Xojo Wars itself, by all means, let me know. We didn't stumble into any that I'm aware of during XDC or at any other time, but, this code, probably a bug in there somewhere. So if you do come across something, by all means, let me know. And I guess I will close this by saying what I've been practicing all week. May the source be with you. Ha ha ha. All right. And I got one thing. Edwin is asking me when the next Xojo release comes out. Edwin was not at the conference, but when people ask me questions about when things are going to get done, I always just answer them with a yes. I can't really say when, but we are targeting this summer. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.